the Uganda Matters Apostolate, Kampala Archdiocese. The topic given to us, Martyrdom, lessons for our spirituality. Martyrdom is the supreme witness in one's faith, in what one believes in. People go and give witness in courts and they go back home. But witness who witnesses with his or her blood, it is a supreme form of witness. So the martyrs witnessed with their blood. The martyrs died in the 19th century, second half of the 19th century. They had challenges which are quite innumerable, some of which you cannot even comprehend unless you have read very widely. The Uganda Martyrs lived in a time when there were no modern modes of transport, where there were no communication system that one would communicate with another to understand what is taking place here or there. They lived a generation where the missionaries had just come to catechize them. The missionaries did not know the language of their catechumens, and the catechumens did not know the language of their priests. The first catechism which the missionaries wrote, it had several languages embodied in it. There was Swahili, there was Luganda. Luganda had no grammar. It's written like this. So they were writing according to the sound. But the people to whom they were writing did not know how to read. So the difficulty they found was so innumerable. But to believe to a point that one gives up his life in such a short time, because many of them had been in the Catholic faith for at most 1.5 years. Because many who were young boys had entered the king's service during Mwanga's reign in 1884, and then they died 1884 late in October, in November, and they were killed in 1886. It was a fairly short time, and some of them had not been baptized. So that kind of faith, to believe that there is life after death, because many of them were telling their executioners that you will kill me, but I will find my life in heaven. So that kind of faith is a very big challenge to us. The people of this generation, we have so many priests, so many parishes within is reach, modern communication, modern transport. It's a shame that a person staying in a distance of less than a kilometer, 4 kilometers or 3 kilometers, cannot reach church to attend Mass in a time. Mass starts at 9 o'clock and you leave home to go for Mass at 9 o'clock. When you leave home at 8:30, remember the other time the martyrs didn't have clocks, didn't have watches. But a person going for Mass leaves his home in a car without calculating that he's going to find traffic jam. He gets stuck in a jam. He arrives when the homily is finished. But the matters, I will give an example of Lukabana Bachintu. He walked from Mitiana to come to Narukolongo. He left Mitiana on Friday afternoon. Remember that area was your forests. It was not habited as we see it today. There are no tarmac roads that one walks easily. There are wild animals. Rivers would overflow during the rainy period. But he would walk from Mitiana on Friday afternoon. He reaches Kampala, or as they called it at that time, they were calling it Chibuga. He reaches Chibuga on Saturday evening. He attends catechism in the night. The following day attends Mass. Then in the afternoon he attends catechism again. Then on Monday he walks back to go and catechize his fellow Christians in Mitiana. If we could embrace at least a fraction of what Lukabana Bachintu did, all of us would die martyrs. So they challenge us so much. I have done business, and one of the business I did was, it entailed bidding. But when you are given a time that bids will close at 11 a.m. on Friday, if by 11 a.m. you are not inside, they will not deliver your bid. True. So you make sure, can even leave the car and jump on the border to go and arrive there at 11 o'clock, so that your bid is accepted. So should I assume that a person sees God as a lesser than his business? When you are doing business, you make sure you arrive in time, you do everything as it's supposed to be. But when it comes to God, you do as you wish. Whichever time you arrive, there's no problem. So they give us a very big challenge, and I think if you emulate them, none of us will die martyrs, because churches are very close by, priests are there. They don't. If you want to confess, you don't pay any money to a priest to go for confession. But you simply take it as if it is it's a by the way, I could go for confession or not. So the matters gives us a very big challenge, and I think if you learn from them, this country would be a much better place to live in.
True. Which story of the matters resonates with you more? We have many matters. They all have their stories. So which of them resonates with you more?
A story that resonates with me more is there is a common story, a common characteristic which embodies all the matters. And after their death, of course, their mentor, Penel made a report, which eventually culminated into requesting them to make an investigation about the death of the martyrs. When that report reached Rome appointed a committee that was headed by Father Boutin. But Father Boutin, after reading that report, and he advised that they make a petition for beatification. They make further investigations, then they make a petition for beatification. The comment he put on that report is that these matters of purity, they died because of protecting their chastity. And it comes to all of them. Mm-hmm. There was a misconduct of sodomy within the circles of the palace. That palace was a very, very big complex with so many houses, so many people staying there, men, women, and there was a section that was called House of Eunuch, and every man who was staying in that house must have been castrated, because they would compromise themselves with the princesses. The princesses were not allowed to marry, or the king's wives. But surprisingly, the martyrs, I think it's because the king had seen their sincerity. They were not castrated. And when Mwanga moved his court from Mengo in February 1886, and he took it to Munyonyi after they had burnt the Mengo Palace. When he reached Munyonyi, he changed Anatole Chirigwajo from the Great Audience Hall to services for his wives and the princesses, to be their procurement personnel and errand boy. But Anatole Chirigwajo thought, because he knew he had been in the palace service during King Mutesa, he knew that there were many women within the king's court who were starved of male society, male community, because they were not allowed to go inside there. He thought if he accepts to go there, he's going to compromise his chastity. Then he knelt before the king and he said, "My Lord King, Sabasajja, thank you for entrusting me with this responsibility. But you excuse me and not take up the assignment." The king was visibly annoyed, very annoyed, and he ordered for his imprisonment. Put him in prison, and he told him, "Your fellow Christians will find you there," which actually means that Mwanga had harbored that feeling of getting rid of the Christians. Your fellow Christians will find you there. But it was within those time, that period of persecution.
Okay.
So chastity is what was common to all.
Okay. Then what inspired you to learn more about the Uganda matters as compared to any other person in the church, maybe the saints? What inspired you to really be invested into the Uganda matters?
I wouldn't really say that this is this, but God does his things in a different way. But I've read books about the matters, Uganda matters, and tried to think, to compare the matters, the period the matters learned the religion, how they learned it, what they did, what they went through, the difficulties they had, comparing it with all the opportunities we have in these latter generations. I've been going to Namugongo for so many years, over 30 years. Every year I go, every year I go. You see the people who walk long distances and come for the pilgrimage. You see other people go to Namugongo to drink and do other sorts of misconducts. Then I said, just as the missionaries started the investigation about the matters, you know what caused the missionaries to quickly investigate the death of the martyrs? They thought that as these children have been killed, now people are going to run away from us. But when they killed Bari Kudembe, so many people came to be baptized. They said, how the persecution has started, now you baptize us before they kill us. And the others enlisted to study catechism. Then when they killed the other martyrs on the 3rd June, many of them, when they said, I think now it is finished, I think we could think of how we go back home. That night, so many came to be baptized. Then they said, but wait a minute. These deaths must have some reason behind it. Instead of people running away from us, instead they are coming to us. So that is what prompted them to start very quick and say, there must be a reason.
Okay.
But because there are some juridical reasons, they could not start the investigation so quickly. The area where the martyrs died was juridically under the Mary Hill missionaries. And those who taught the martyrs were white fathers. White fathers were in Rubaga, and the Mary Hill were in Zambia. So all the area where the martyrs died fell in the jurisdiction of the Mary Hill fathers. So they had to agree to give them permission to come and make investigation in their diocese. So today this delayed it a bit until 1997 when Bishop Stracher met Bishop Hanlon and allowed him to make an investigation within their diocese. That's when it started. But the idea had originated from that inflow after a misfortune had fallen within them. Their catechist had been killed, and they thought they were about to close up. Then many flocked to be baptized, others coming from other religions to join Catholicism.
Okay.
So, back to what you had asked. So I found all those things. When I read so many of those things and said, I think there's something more with these matters, more than what we see. Whenever you could go to Namugongo, you can't find there a book that's about the matters that you're going to read. So I tried to find books from St. Paul Book Center. I read. So I got to know more about the Ghana matters and how we can learn from them to be better Christians. Because you have many opportunities to be better Christians than themselves, because they had almost no opportunity. They had no books, they didn't know how to read, they didn't know how to write, everything was, but it's really difficult to understand how they believed to a point of martyrdom. Up to this time, I really wonder what prompted them to accept. You see, faith is to believe in something unbelievable. That's the faith.
True.
Because, for example, if Abraham had known that when he's going to sacrifice his son, he's going to find a ram there, we wouldn't call him the grandfather of faith.
Yes.
Because that would not be faith, because he would do, but because he did not know, he went, tried to sacrifice his son. Then God said, I have seen your faith. God wouldn't have said that.
True.
So, the faith they had with that scanty knowledge, no knowledge of theology, no knowledge of anything, is something very challenging to us. Because we don't have an excuse.
True. So how can our viewer also get to learn something from the life of the Uganda Martyrs, so that, of course, we have a lot, we have good transport, we have everything, but you find that people give little time to God. They go when they feel like when it is time for, when you're doing your job, you want to be there on time, but when it is time for mass, you can come 30 minutes late, then you walk up to the front, everyone is looking at you. Like, how can our viewer learn something about the Uganda Martyrs and how they managed to give up their life because of their faith, despite the hardships they went through? They decided to say, no, we have to die for our faith. How can our viewer learn from that?
I think we, the people of this generation, we have not taken time to think of what God is in our lives. We take God in our lives as something accidental. Some of us think, I'm there because I'm supposed to be there. You see, a person thinks of God when he's attending a requiem mass. Because he feels, I think one day I'm also going to die.
True.
Okay? So that is when a person thinks about God. But from where he does whatever he or she wants. So we don't think much about God. But if we knew that God is the one who holds our lives, is the one who is in charge of our lives, He's the supreme being that holds our lives, I think we would do much more than we are doing.
True.
As I gave you an example earlier on, when someone is taking a bid, whether it rains, that person will go.
True.
But when it is a little drizzle and it's Sunday, you say, but it's raining. When one could get an umbrella and he goes to church. It's because we have not understood what God is in our lives. That's why many of us are Sunday Christians. In 1 year, you attend 52 masses just on Sundays. But God allows you all the 7 days. But if one day He stops you, He stops a breath in you for 2 minutes, you are gone. At one time, I was called as a resource person somewhere. Then I gave an example of the COVID period. We passed through COVID. COVID could pass through anything. Someone who holds money and he has COVID, he gives it to you, you would catch COVID. And a person who was admitted in the ICU would pay 5 million shillings per day to get oxygen. But the period we have stayed on earth, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 70 years, If you are paying 5 million per day, how much money would you have paid? But God gives his oxygen free. I don't know if any person has ever thought of that and say, by the way, God is really there. All those people who caught COVID and died were not the worst sinners. But why didn't it catch you? God has left you for a reason. So we have not integrated the supremacy of God into our life. We have not understood God. You see, going to church is not understanding God. Some people go to church so that he fulfills the third commandment to honor God is the Lord's Day. Just that. When it is May and October, someone recites the rosary because the church says so. The rest of the 10 months, it is on leave. So we have not understood God. If you had understood God, I think it would be one time, Padre Pio said that if people knew what is in Mass, there would be a traffic officer at every church entrance to make a smooth inflow and outflow, if they knew what is in that Mass. And the Padre Pio is one of the most modern, the modern saints, because he died in 1968, so he's very modern. But he said it, and I think you have not really understood it. We have remained Sunday Christians, and that Sunday, there's a friend who went to church. He went to church. He found the Mass midway at the homily. When the Mass ended, he waited for a second Mass. Attended it. When he reached at the homily where he entered in the other Mass, then he left. He says, now when we join the two, I have completed the Mass. So he's even to the seat. Do you understand what you are doing? You give God that kind of pieces. Now they say, God will join it and we know that I attended the whole Mass. The Martyrs never did that. I'll give you an example. When the court moved to Munyonyo, the priests remained at Narukolongo. The Martyrs could work from dawn to dusk. When the king goes to sleep, then they walk from Munyonyo to Narukolongo to study catechism in the night. They go back before the king wakes up. And then the following morning, they are at work. The Martyrs and the other Christians who are working, because now we talk of the Martyrs because they are the ones who are profiled. They were so honest that some of them we did not want them killed, like Andrew Kagwa. He struggled to see that Andrew Kagwa is not killed. And the Katikiro, Mukasa, asked the Kabaka, now we are going to kill your chief's children and leave the one who taught them. He said, I can't kill Kagwa because he's the leader of my dramas. Who will do that job? He said, so you have accepted to kill your servants, your chief's children, and leave those who taught them. He's going to teach others. Then he reluctantly said, okay. Then he rushed, ordered the executioner to take him and kill him. He said, cut off his hand. I want to see it. I will not eat before I see his hand. Because Mwaga was a young boy. At the time when he killed the Martyrs, he was 18 years. He was born in 1868. So 1886, he was 18 years. He reigned when he was 16 years. He killed Bali Kudembe when he was 17 years. So he killed the mass martyrdom when he was 18 years. So he was young. And Katikkiro Mukasa was a Katikkiro during his father. So he was an old man. So they easily manipulated him. And he thought he would do probably order for his release before he's killed. But Katikkiro Mukasa said, kill him very quickly, I want his hand. Because Katikkiro Mukasa feared Bali Kudembe, because at one time Mwanga had told Bali Kudembe that you are going to be my next Katikkiro. Now Bali Kudembe had died, and there was Andrew Kagwa. So he thought this Andrew Kagwa is now a threat to me. So those other Christians who were outside the palace did not have any problem. There was Matayo Kirevu, there was Kisule, Matthew Kisule, there was Stanislas Mugwanya, there was Joseph Kadu. They had no problem. But these ones who were close to the Kabaka, who was referred to them, he confided secrets in them and not in the Katikkiro. So the Katikkiro said, this man trusts these people very much. So whenever he got a chance for anyone to be killed, he made sure they kill him very quickly. And that's what he did to Bali Kudembe. When he took Bali Kudembe, rather reluctantly, on the side of the king, then he ordered that I want him killed very quickly. That's why they cut off his hand, they cut off his hand, and they cut off his head. And by the time the king ordered for his release, he had been already killed. And this is the investigation of the Katikkiro. Because they were good servants, the king, the Kabaka wanted them so much, except these young boys. These young boys, he had given them up. But he loved Charles Rwanga. He loved him. He was very industrious. He was very energetic, athletic, and a very good leader. And actually, the missionaries had seen a crop of a new leader. And they renamed him Charles, referring him to their founder, Charles Ravijiri. So they named him Charles. And these others, they named them according to alphabet. Achilles, Anatoly, Ambrose.
Okay.
So they were the friends of the king. They were doing their work very well. The king was a young man. He had supreme authority. And when they were instigated by these other elders, the Katikkiros and others, who would easily fall in. So before he orders for the release, then this one must had influence for their murder so quickly. Because see, those executioners were under the Katikkiro. So when the Katikkiro orders them, they act very quickly.
Okay. There's this matter that you earlier said that was Muslim and then became Catholic. So can you elaborate more on that matter? Like what?
The matter... Now, there's another thing which I think which would lead us to that. Matia mulumba lukabana ba kintu alina amuwaggali afu Mityana. Mityana is 40 miles. Why didn't you get matters in Kyengera here?
Which is near.
Which is near. Or Mukono here, which is near here. But the king had the kingdom had an elaborative civil structure that every county chief had a duty. So the county chief of Singo was called Mukwenda. Who is called Mukwenda? Titled Mukwenda, because that's the title. His duty was to build houses for the Kabaka. Now you ask me, was the Kabaka building every day? No, he wasn't building every day. But whenever he got guests, he was building for them.
Okay.
So when the Arabs came, Mutesa called Mukwenda to come and build for them. And Matthias Mulumba was his deputy. So he came along with his deputy.
Mm.
And the Arabs taught them Islam. And Matthias Mulumba at one time was a professed Muslim. And having 4 wives, it was okay. So when the Anglicans came, they brought Steve Mukwenda to come and build for them. He came with his 2 lieutenants, Matthias Mulumba and Lukabana Bachintu. And see, whenever these missionaries came, the first people to get in contact with, the first thing they are telling them is about faith. So when they heard what the Anglicans taught them about faith, they said, according to what they confided in to Mapera and Livignac, that the Anglicans' mode of faith was superior to that of Islam. And they gave some reasons, which I may not go into. When the Catholics came, they still called them to come and build for them. So, as they are building for them, they also doing the same, catechizing them. Now, Matia Mulumba had a comparison of all of them. Until he said, I think a man who gives up marrying because of a god, that must be the right god. It's a little bit of what is swayed there and say, a man to leave a woman, and because of God, I think that must be the true God. So they left all the others and they started learning Catholicism. That was 1879. Started learning Catholicism. So when they went home, they taught Catholicism to their people in Mitiana.
Okay.
So that's how the faith, the Christian faith, reached Mitiana 40 miles before these within the 10 miles radius had not learned it. Because those who were not in the palace had no chance of, because there were no communication, no radios that we hear on the radio that Sanderson has come, he's saying this and this. You had to come to Nalukolongo. And how do you know that there's something like Nalukolongo unless it has come to you? So the missionaries never walked out of town, and fewer people got to know about faith at that time. So it is Matthias Mulumba who took faith there. Now, in 1882, when they were preparing them for baptism, he told him, you have to leave. Actually, Father, they came for, when the missionaries they were handing the houses over to the missionaries. They asked for baptism. The prayer told them, with the Mukwenda, that to start learning catechism, you must leave. To start learning catechism, so that you could be baptized, you must leave all the women and stay with one woman.
Which is hard.
It became so hard for Mukwenda. Mukwenda said, no. Religion is good, but it is difficult. Matthias Mulumba said, I will leave them. Then he went. He had 4 wives. He told the 3. He brought all of them together. He told the 3, number 2, number 3, number 4, I love you so much. But the faith I'm embracing tells me I should have 1 wife. I have not, it's not that I don't like you, but I'm going to stay with the elder woman. Keep the houses I have built for you. I look after you, but I'm going to stay with So they call him Chikuva. I'm going to stay with this elder wife. Of course, they cast, they said this and that. You have bewitched our husband, you have done what? So he started learning catechism after. It was not towards catechism that he left them. He left them in order to be registered to study catechism.
Okay.
So he started studying catechism, and in 1882, in April, he was baptized.
That is a very big step.
It was a very big step, and Matthias Mulumba and Andrew Kagoye, the first fully-fledged families, because they had wives, they are married, holy matrimony, so they say they pursued Christianity fully married. All the other matters, they are not married, they had no wives elsewhere, except at one time, a little earlier, during Mutesa's time, Mutesa gave Bruno Sero Nkuma one of the slave girls. It was a Musoga. He lived with her. She even got pregnant. But his fellow Christians noticed it and went to Mapera. He told me, our friend has fallen. He has a woman. Then Mapera came in pursuit of him, met him, counseled him, told him the spiritual risks and all that. Bruno Serunkuma gave up the woman, and he stayed alone. He went back on sacraments.
Okay.
And,
being the matter, they were not allowed to marry?
Not allowed to marry, but they just wanted to keep their chastity. None of them were children. Those who were not children, there was Matthias, there was Rukabana Bachintu, there was Noah Mawagali. Charles Wanga was 26 years, he was old enough, but right from start he had vowed not to marry. He said, I want to be like a man's. I'm not married. Yohana Maria Muzei also said, I will not marry. And he actually professed before Mapera that I will not marry and I will not do anything without your guidance. With the guidance of Mapera. Whatever he was supposed to do, he would ask first whether he would do it or not. So surrendering himself to the authority of the priest. So he was an old man, but he didn't have a wife. Ponce Alonso was old now, he was 35 years, he didn't have a wife. And Yakobo Zabadia was also of marriageable age, but he didn't have a wife, he didn't have a girlfriend, he didn't have one. So every person was committed to the king's work, the king's work, because that was, I think, the most prominent civil service job one can get, and the faith. Time is for work, the rest of the time is for catechism, or offering some service to society. In 1982, there was plague, and many people died. Plague could catch a person because there are no medicines, and that person is left just to die. And it was contagious. So when one catched plague, they would leave that person. If he's old, they leave him in the house, because they're hearts. They leave him in the house, and they move and go to another place. When that person dies, they don't bury him, leave him in the house where he has died, and they move to another place. When he's energetic, they chase him out of the home. So Andrew Kagwa and Yohana Maria Muzei moved around and looked for for those people, brought them within their homes, counseled them. Those who would look to be terminally ill, that they could die, they baptized them. So they were left to do such jobs. But mark you, it is those who are outside the palace who are doing that. The Andrew Kagwe was staying outside the palace. And Yohana Maria Mzee, during Manga's reign, he was not in the palace. He was not readmitted in the palace, palace work. So he was outside the palace. And the reason for not admitting him, when Mutesa died, they gave Yohana Maria Mzee the job to look after the grave of the Kabaka at Kasubi.
Okay.
And many people, including the princes and princesses, used to come to the grave to make some rituals, which he felt it was satanic. And he ran away from the job. And that was a crime. So he could not come back to the son of the Kabaka when he had dumped the job they had given him. So that's why he was not in Mwanga's service. Otherwise, he was close to Kabaka Mutesa, and he died in their hands together with Joseph Baliku Dembe. Mwanga would have brought him back. But he did not, because he had that case of abandoning the job that the palace had offered him. So you are asking about Matia Mwemba's triple religion.
Yes.
Triple religion. He was a Muslim, he became an Anglican, he became a Catholic. So that is how it came about. The others did not have wives. Some of them were children. Those who were not, were committed to work the rest of the time, catechism. Another free time was to move around, and whenever they were moving, they were discussing religion. Whenever they would go to discuss the religion, and they converting those who are not Catholics. Because when the missionaries went to Tanganyika in exile, these young men did a lot of work, converted many from the traditional faith, from Islam and from Anglicans, converted them to the Catholic Church. The missionaries left 20 baptized Christians and 300 catechumen. But when they returned, throughout Uganda, there were 8,000 whom they started examined to see whether they have understood fully to be baptized. So their task thereafter was baptizing.
Okay.
So that is how the matters toward the religions. And by the way, Maria Mzee also at one time was a Muslim. And he was called Jamali.
Okay.
But the others did not embrace it fully. Joseph Baliku Dembe learned it, but he was not enrolled in it. So when the Catholics came and he got in touch with them, then he just fell out for them and did the undoable. Because he was baptized in Aleppo in April 1882, and the missionaries left in November 1882, and he was elected to be the head of the laity at that time.
Okay. Now, Amans and Mapera, when they came to Uganda, they didn't know the local languages, and also the people they found here did not know English. Yes, they didn't know English. So, how our listener, our viewer may be wondering, how were they able to communicate and then have this done?
See, when Jesus was teaching, He said those who believe will do so many strange things, strange to people. They speak languages. Even if they catch snakes, when they bite them, they will not die. The missionaries, when they were coming to Buganda, because their journey was come to Buganda, after reading the report that Stanley had, that Stanley had published in the Daily Telegraph.
Okay.
So he passed through Tanganyika, and he learned some bit of Swahili.
Okay.
And the Muslims here had taught some bit of Swahili. So those matters understood some bit of Swahili. So when they came, they staggered into those languages. They didn't know Luganda, but they tried to write the prayers in Luganda, mixing it with Swahili. And the people they were writing for did not know how to read. Some of them had learnt reading the Islamic alphabet, but it is different from this alphabet. We read these other languages. So God blessed them, because when you see the prayers as they were written, and the people for whom they were writing did not know how to read, because Uganda didn't have the grammar to follow. They write like this. So the missionaries were writing, following the voice, how the voice, it's how they are writing. Say, kulinya, they were writing W-N-Y-A, kulinya, following the vowel, as the vowel moves. Is like someone writing music. Okay. That's how they're writing. Okay. But it's one of those things that surprise us. That they adopted that new faith within those difficult conditions. They didn't know how to read. There were no books. They didn't know how to write. The others were learning the language. These ones could not learn French. Actually, they're speaking French and Latin, not English actually. Okay. So that is how much difficult it was for them to.
All right. Okay, dear viewer, let us come back. Okay. Can you please summarize? Really, on the lives of the life of our viewer, how can they be able to live in the light of the Uganda Matters?
What I advise my fellow, I not say fellow Ugandans, because the program goes beyond Uganda. I not say to my fellow Christians, because even non-Christians listen to the program, but try to read books as much as possible. Every wisdom, every secret, every good things is written in the books. You read books, you understand. Okay. You cannot follow a person whom you don't understand. When you understand the lives of the matters, you can check yourself and say, wait a minute, is this all I have been doing? But if you understand their lives, then you cannot follow what you don't know. True. When I always think of a man walking to come and listen to the word of God, to go back and teach others, not to come to trade, to go and sell and get money, but to learn, go and teach others. It is something which really God rewarded with martyrdom. Okay. The martyrs were rewarded with the crown of martyrdom because of what they did. and the belief, the faith they had is incomparable to what we see today. Because the Gen Zs do their own things. Someone comes from us, he picks his phone, he starts, as they read the gospel, he's on WhatsApp or he's on Facebook and all that.
There's a saying that if you want to hide something from an African, hide it in the book. So could there be some videos, like someone can watch and then learn something from that?
A video that is simplifying the subject. A video looks at, you look at it and it goes. And a video, it means that you have played a drama about that subject, which may not be possible.
True.
Because you can't dramatize the lives of the martyrs from when the missionaries came up when the martyrs died. But read the books. Don't make any excuse. If you don't read the books, then I'm sorry, you never know anything. You're going to still take a God as a by the way.
True.
But if you read the books, you're going to understand more.
Okay.
Not even about the matters only. If you read the books of, not the matters of Uganda only, but other matters. Now they have written about the Eucharistic miracles.
Okay.
7 of them. Unless you read the books where they are written, then you may not know what is exactly in that bread after it is blessed.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. John Baptist Semitego. We thank you for sparing some time to talk to us. And I also thank you, our viewer, for also sparing your time to watch us.
I'm glad it's good to share. You have shared. I pray that we learn more about the Uganda matters. If we don't, we may not follow them.
True.
And I would invite everybody to go to Munyonyo next Friday on 15th November, when the Central Province will be closing the Diamond Jubilee year of the canonization of the martyrs.
Okay.
Once we start at 10 at Munyonyo, we need to know about the matters. When we know about the matters, I think the rest will be easy for us, because the syllabus they followed is the syllabus we are following. That is the gospel and God's commandments. The examiner is one, is Jesus, and the judge is one, is God. Who judged them is one who judges us. So we need to know about the Uganda matters,
and we need to read books
about
them.
Nothing more. These videos is just simplifying the subject.
True.
Read books. There's a lot of knowledge in those books.
In the books of the Uganda matters. Where can someone find them?
You go to Catholic bookshops, the St. Paul Book Center, there is Press the King bookshop. And other bookshops, even Aristoc, you could find them there.
Okay.
But it's what I would urge people to do. Without that, if you think that going to church and you hear the homily, it may be enough, I challenge anyone to go back and reflect. Remember, the first reading was from which book? You may not recall when you were in church.
True.
Eh?
True.
But have your son, your daily missal. Read it.
Okay. Like you buy it and have it at
home. You have it at home.
That is something good.
But you simplify things, if you get like a video, you listen to it and you see, look at it and you move. That is simplifying things about God should not be simplified.
True.
No, should not. Because we are here for Him. And after here, still you shall be with Him. So we should take God very seriously. True. And the matters pertaining to God should be taken very seriously.
true. I've learned a lot from you. They didn't talk about Kizito, but but it is okay. We can always have another time when you have time.
If you're allowed another time, we shall have it.
Okay.
And solving matter is wide, you can't finish it. Talking about 1 or 2 matters will take about 2 or 3 hours. So, so we are grateful for the time they have given us.
Okay.
And we pray that people get to perceive what.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, our viewer.
UCTV, good news for all.